Testing. See if my mic is on. Okay. Oh, welcome to Live and Be Great. I'm your host, Latonya McDonald. I am a spiritual psychological life coach who combines everything, okay, to make sure people can live and be great. All right, so let's get started. This week, I'm going to try to go live for at least 5 days in a row to grow my channel. And it is so much easier for me to show people better than I can tell them. So I felt like reactions might be a great way for me to naturally teach people how to spot patterns when it comes to like relationships, when it comes to themselves or friendships or anything that can be sort of an obstacle when they're trying to really live out their purpose. Okay, so we're gonna get started, but I'm gonna push myself. This is not something that's natural for me to go live every day, but I think it's time. This is my year of visibility. All right, so on the screen here, I do not know if you all can see this or not. I can check. Yeah, it looks like y'all can see it. It's kind of small. I'm gonna have to fix that some type of way. But let me see how I can do that on my end. Make it a little bit bigger. This Reddit post that I have here. Okay, that should be better, I hope. Make it a little bit bigger. Okay, that should be good. Um, yeah, so I have to fix this display. If you haven't noticed yet, I'm a perfectionist. And this is my first time doing this. So you can kind of tell who's a perfectionist and who isn't, okay? Because I could have just came on here and screen shared from my phone, but I didn't because I make things harder for myself. That ADHD brain, that's a symptom, okay? But I'm pushing myself. I'm pushing myself to do better. So let's get into it. Topic of today is why do people stay in toxic relationships? Why do smart people stay in toxic relationship? That is the question because it is a thing. If you know someone who you might say, oh, this person is educated, this person kind of a good background, whatever that means to people. I don't understand why they're in this type of relationship. And it's not because the person is dumb. Smart people can make dumb decisions, but that doesn't mean that they're dumb, right? And they also sometimes they feel like if they can understand the confusion or the chaos, then they can fix it, right? So I want to go through these Reddit examples of what it's like, or what I mean by smart people staying in toxic relationships. All right, so I'm going to read this. I haven't read it yet, but look at the title. I think my boyfriend may be a narcissist. I probably should put that definition up because oftentimes that that word, that term gets thrown out a lot, and not everyone deserves it. Okay, but at least we're all moving forward as a culture. That's the good part about it. But I do think that some people, they misuse the term. They really, truly, truly do. But, who knows? This is a smart person. So this person, they can be so smart to where they have looked up the diagnosis before they even made this post, or before they even had the question to get some insight or get some support from Reddit. Like, that's how smart they are, right? But they're still here. So let's see why. Okay, it says, I think my boyfriend may be a narcissist. Looking at our history and behavior for a long time. Also, just gonna say that we are long distance and talk through voice chat. Long distance. Okay, that's interesting. It says, recently we had a fight and it made me feel kind of crazy. He was upset about something, so I tried to give some advice. I was in the middle of saying my thing, and he said, you started this good but ended. Okay. In my mother's tongue, it sounded even worse. Did I read that right? Okay. So I went nonverbal for a while because I was really mad and sad, and then said that I'm gonna be right back. It was late and I had a chore to do, and I knew it will probably be another argument. And after that, I won't have any strength to do this chore. So it looks like she is. I'm confused. Okay, I don't know. I don't know if she's in the middle of a chore or not, but it looks like he might have been chastising her about the chore, and then she just stopped talking. She might have started to talk. Yes, she started to talk. Okay. He was upset about something, so she tried to give him advice, and he basically said she started off good and then chastised her for the advice that she was giving, basically discredited the advice that she was trying to give. So she just stopped talking and probably just let him complain. Okay, I could recognize that behavior. All right. Around okay, after around 15 to 20 minutes, I think I was back and I was really scared to unmute myself. I didn't know what to say, if I should even fight for myself or just give up and take care of him. When I was back, I sat quiet for a minute trying to figure out how to start. He then asked me if I care and if I'll start talking. Ooh, oh, I can imagine how hard. Okay, so him saying, "Oh, you started off good," but then, basically the rest of your advice was crap. Him saying that already, made her want to withdraw, right? And she's also obviously trying to show that she cares by trying to give him some advice, and he shut her down. So of course she would withdraw, and well, let me just take a break. I don't want to argue with him. Let me come back and try to support him and just be quiet, basically. Ooh. And now she basically has to risk getting shut down again and being hurt if she tries to give advice again. Like, she has to really think and use her words wisely. And then she doesn't even know if he's in the mood to take advice, or if he just wants something to fight, because whatever the situation he's going through right now, he has no control over. But he has control over humiliating and degrading her. That's my take. Like, I could just let me know. Let me know if you're getting that vibe, or you're understanding what I'm saying from listening to this story. Okay, so um he then asked me if I care and if I'll start talking. Then I told him how his words made me feel. Good job. And he didn't seem exactly sad about his behavior, but he said he apologizes for that. He apologized. Okay. But still, his voice didn't sound sorry for what he did. It felt like he was sorry he got caught. So, around 5 seconds after his apology, I said that it doesn't exactly seem honest to me. Also, my voice must have sounded angry too. I was also really anxious talking with him about it. So I know I might not have sounded soft enough. And then he got angry that I said that, and didn't even give him a chance to say something more. I told him that he could have just responded to me that he needs some more time to say something more, and it would be totally okay. Hmm. I got also called a hypocrite because I was gone for half an hour, leaving him hanging, and I had all the time in the world to think about what I wanted to say. This part is difficult in relationships. This part is difficult. It truly, truly is. Okay, okay, okay. This is the mind reading, I think, on both ends. A lot of people in their relationships do. If there's no explanation, everybody just assumes, especially when emotions are high and you may not be reacting in a way the other person may want you to react. Sometimes we just assume things. And we kind of say, we kind of make these rules up, like, if I do A, you should do B, but oftentimes we don't communicate that. Or if I am experiencing A, I expect help in this way. Yeah, it seems like it's some miscommunication there, or she might be taking it as there's nothing that she could possibly do right. Um, okay, Lord, let me continue. Let me continue and see. And by the way, after I read this whole entire story and I process it, my thoughts can be completely different from when I start. And that also happens when I have clients. Okay. Sometimes they might give me certain parts of the story, and I have to probe and ask questions to get the full story, to make the right observation or give the right antidote or whatever the case may be to the issue. So it might be completely different from when I started, but let's see. Let's see. Okay. So I was gone an hour and a half, leaving him hanging. Okay, we said that part. And he said, I had all the time in the world to think about what I wanted to say, which I guess is fair, but I didn't feel safe enough. Yep, that's what I was feeling. I didn't think she felt safe. I didn't feel safe enough to share why I was gone because I think he wouldn't let me or would make me feel bad for it. Possibly. Yep. I feel like it's a fair thing, he said, in a healthy relationship. But ours isn't exactly healthy. And he always acts like he lacks empathy towards me in such situations. So I kind of hated being called a hypocrite, which later he worsened, telling me that we know you like to act like a hypocrite. Ooh, okay, okay. Might be a little bit of, um, okay. Yeah, okay, all right. After listening to him telling me that I was escalating the conflict, I told him that he tries to shift the blame on me. He really turned it around and it felt like nothing was honest from him. And he just wanted to take the attention off of himself for saying such an awful thing to me. He disagreed and said that he isn't even blaming me. He told me that he doesn't want to talk until I agree that I was escalating the problem. Oh, okay. That part, he didn't want to talk to me. He didn't want to talk to me until I agree. Wait a minute. The polite thing to say, we can agree to disagree, but not, I'm not talking to you till you say that I was right. That's basically what he's saying. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. That is very extremely toxic. Okay? It is extremely toxic to say yes. All right. Okay. Let me continue. I wanted to stay firm fighting for myself. But then he said, okay, let's make it about emotions so it's simpler for you. What you mean by simpler? Okay. Okay. I felt that sometimes words people just say just to like dig when you already. Okay, anyways, I felt disrespected and bad when you didn't give me the benefit of the doubt and more time to apologize, and you can't deny my emotions now. So, yeah, I agreed because that's right. He then asked my, he then asked my, why couldn't I agree to it before? I think she said, I think she meant me. He then asked me why couldn't I agree to it before making it about emotions. And I said that it's because I really wanted to fight for myself and the disrespect I got. That's honest. And he said, so it was my ego, which is true too, I guess. I was fighting for it so bad because I didn't feel like he wants to make it right. I really don't understand how can he say all these things to me, to his partner. I have a lot of empathy and I won't say a bad thing unless someone does to me. At the end of the conflict, he said he apologizes for saying hurtful. things to me, but not for the whole situation because I also made mistakes. And I had to apologize for escalating the problem, and I had to assure him that I will stop being a hypocrite in the future because that scares him. What scares him is if I'm going to fight for something with my ego and he would agree with me when I wasn't right, then we both wouldn't be right and he would agree to something that isn't right. LOL, which sounds insane to me. Scares him. Mm. Scares him to stand up for yourself. Interesting. Also, I think I feel so insane about these conflicts sometimes because he says things that kind of make sense. So, what if I'm not as right as I think? And we have a long history of these, and I feel like we didn't have an argument where I was right and he wasn't. I always had at least one thing to apologize for to get better at. It smells narcissism, but also I know he has such a cute heart for animals and also gets sad for them when he sees they're hurting. And I wonder if that could cross out the narcissism. Also, even if he isn't a narcissistic person, he still does a lot of unhealthy things, and I don't know what to do. Okay, I know I should leave, but I'm so attached to him. Thank you for reading. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he's narcissist. He rude. Um, he could be more self-absorbed. He could. It would be wonderful if I had their zodiac signs. Because this also helps. This also helps. This also helps. This sounds like he might be a Gemini as well. The reason why I say that he might be a Gemini or have a Gemini communication style, right? You don't have to be a Gemini to have a Gemini communication style, but it seems as though she said that she doesn't remember having an argument where she didn't have to apologize for something. All right. Um and then the whole I don't want to talk to you until you agree with me type of nonsense. That Gemini like communication style, if they want to be right, they will twist your words up and down, right and left. Okay, they will, and you will feel like you're speaking in a whole different language, a whole different language. Uh, Now when she said the empathy part, hmm, when she said the empathy part, I would say, but does he have empathy for you? Like, and there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Okay? Empathy means that you can put yourself in that other person's place. Sympathy means that you feel sorry for them, but you would never make that decision that they made, or you can't see why this thing happened to that the person or the thing or whatever the case may be, right? um Empathy is more as I understand why you feel that way. Like, I understand, I see exactly where you're coming from, I'm putting myself in your shoes. And narcissists have a they have a huge problem. They have a Yeah, it's not easy for narcissists to have empathy at all. Like, they have to be taught empathy, or people have to point it out And a great example is if when she said that she's being called a hypocrite, it's a good chance that he could be called a hypocrite as well when it comes to this story. But he just thinks she is it, and he could never, right? It's kind of like you start to notice signs when the person is doing the exact same thing. And a lot of people, they don't have to be all the way called a narcissist, but like that is a symptom when they are doing the exact same thing to you. Or they could get away with doing something to you, but you can't, if you even try to do the same thing to them, it's like, mm-mm. Instead of, you're right, I know I could mess up like that too, or you're right, I know I could be a hypocrite too. He didn't say that, and I think she might have noted that, right? If that was the case, that's kind of how you can possibly tell whether this person has empathy. But yeah, that is a big, the big red flag. It's a big old red flag. You escalating, but I feel like he escalated it by shutting you down like that. Like when you try to give him advice the first time, like that was mean. So and I feel like it's okay to do that. Like if you're trying to give somebody advice and they snap at you, or they're being rude to you, or they say something that, it's hurtful to kind of like brush you off in a disrespectful way that triggers you to where you need a moment, you have every right to take that moment. Now, she took 30 minutes. That was a long time. I will say that's if he's like in panic mode, that's a long time. But that doesn't mean that you don't get to say, hey, like, calm down. It's me you talking to, right? And I'm trying to help you. If it's not helpful, I understand that, but like, don't talk to me like that. In layman's terms, don't do that. You don't have to do that. I'm not against you. I'm here for you. Sometimes you have to like remind whoever it is that you're talking to that you're on the same team. Okay, so yeah, I get that. I get that. I get that. And the fact that she was really, really trying to understand him, and he's saying, I'm trying to see, did he say she should have just said it was about emotions? Or did he say, okay. But yeah. Um, yeah, that their fear, that is some toxicity, but also fear is a choice. So you kind of, I do understand, to avoid conflict, or to avoid making things worse, you do want to be empathetic towards, your loved one when you're in communication with them, but that it can get really tiring and really weigh on you. And then he can create a monster depending on how long he's been doing it. I don't know if she said how long they've been in a relationship together. I don't know how long they've been in a relationship together, but yeah. Someone said, looking at the comments, I think having empathy for animals really only excludes him from being a psychopath ASPD. So that's good news. What's the point in being in a long distance relationship with someone who's still able to manipulate you and control you from a distance? Oof. Mm. Only you can decide if he's too narcissistic to continue dating him. Ask yourself if he's had any self growth in the time you've known him, or if your relationship just cycles of increasingly less good highs and worsening lows, with you feeling more and more confused and disoriented. That really does suck. It sounds like you're in a very good position to be able to easily cut ties with him and eventually move forward with your life. Yes, you're in a great position because you're not dependent on him. I mean, we don't know your full situation, but it's long distance. Yeah, that is something. Somebody doing that over the phone. It is so difficult, but smart person trying to make it work. I get it. I get it. But man, the making you feel like you're just always wrong. Nah, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Okay. Let me see. So, yeah, in her situation, as you can see, her being smart, she trying to figure it out, you know? Still, even though over the phone, still trying to figure it out. And that's what they do. And if they feel like if they can figure it out, they'll be able to fix it. And that's not always the case. And these people, when they're toxic or someone has that type of control over you to where they can manipulate you into feeling like you're the one that always has the issue and not them, um they benefit from that. They benefit from you trying to explain away their behavior. They do. Everybody does. Empathetic people go through that all the time, trying to explain everybody's behavior. Me, I'm an empath. I was always that way. And if two of my friends were fighting, I'd be like, wait, did they intend to hurt you? Or maybe they were going they were going through some things, okay? And they didn't mean to hurt you, right? Or somebody could I could say hello, and somebody could be like, F you. And I'll be like, oh, probably having a bad day. Yeah, I'm not like that no more. Okay, I'm not. Only with my clients. But my clients don't talk to me like that. They know better. But I'm just saying, like, it takes a lot of work. Okay, we do that for everybody because we're trying to understand. We see what you're not saying, and we try to put ourselves in your shoes. We try to make sure we feel what you feel, even when we're not even trying to or don't want to. Just naturally, the natural empathy just happens, and we rather try to understand you than just react to you. Right? A lot of self control, a lot of self awareness, but doesn't mean you have to stay. Okay? Right? It doesn't. Okay? Let's see. But yeah, once you start to question yourself, when you know what's real, hmm once you start to do that, needs to be some real conversations. Okay, some honest conversations. But I'm glad, like, I I will give it to her. She was standing up for herself. She was. She truly was. Even though the manipulation was real, still was able to stand up for herself. And it looks like she may be even getting stronger. It may be making her stronger, and it may help her decide what she's willing to tolerate and what she isn't in her next relationship should this not work out. Okay. Um we might have time, a little bit of time for one more. But yeah, smart people don't always leave faster. Sometimes they just explain the abuse better, right? They just do, which is unfortunate. Okay, so let me see here. Did it switch? Yes, it did switch. All right. The next one is What's the real reason married men won't leave their wives for their mistress? Ew. I've been lurking on a few subreddits and have seen a few posts about women dating married men and knowing they are married. Some have children, etc. One thing I notice is that they date these men for years on end, beg them to leave their wives to go legit with them. But funny enough, the married man doesn't leave even if he claims to love the mistress, calls her his soulmate and carry on a seemingly real relationship with another woman. Also, why would the other woman actively pursue a man knowing he's married? Okay, well, dang, I got through this kind of fast or kind of slow. We started late. Sorry, guys, but this one, mm, so affairs aren't always about love. Sometimes it's about getting the ego stroked, right? Doesn't mean that the person loves you. There's women that have been the side chick for like 20 years. The man dies and it's never married. Like put off them even having children because she just giving everything to this married man. Um, the fantasy, right? I'd rather just have a piece of a man, but they're not gonna leave their wives because that's who they truly maybe think they love, or they probably invested way more in that wife, especially if they have children. Okay, it is cheaper to keep her. It just is cheaper to keep her, right? And you're just an ego stroke while the wife is doing whatever else that they need to do for the household. And he might be bored, and instead of like going to counseling, or instead of I don't know, and the wife may not be an active participant in trying to change and trying to rekindle the relationship and spice it up some more. But mm, yeah, I mean, there's no need. If they feel comfortable where they at, why would they? If you're willing to put up with it and be the mistress, what would they leave for? For what? Right? There's no purpose. Yeah, there's no purpose at all. It, there's no purpose. I'm gonna have to come back to this one. I have to come back to this, but comment below. I want to see what y'all think. What do y'all think is the reason? Why do you think people chase excitement harder than honesty, right? Why do you think people sometimes confuse being chosen with actually being safe? What do y'all think, right? And I gotta run because I have a client. Well, I'm gonna be back tomorrow, hopefully. I'm gonna push myself to go live. Okay. So comment below. I'll try to show up earlier tomorrow. I think I'm gonna go live like around 4 p.m. Okay. You can always watch the playback and subscribe, like, comment. Please comment below. Comment below about what we talked about. What are your thoughts on these Reddit posts? If there's any questions that you have. Do you relate to any of the situations we talked about today? Let me know. Um, but yeah, smart people stay in toxic relationships, guys. They do. Not everybody. I mean, you can make, just because you make dumb decisions doesn't make you like dumb. It's, people find their own logic. And from the outside looking in, it's much easier to separate the two if you haven't grown within yourself to not tolerate certain behaviors, okay? But don't automatically assume that just because they're staying in a toxic relationship, mm, that they're not smart, that they haven't thought this out, that they're not trying to think it out, that they're not believing that it'll change, or maybe they're just comfortable just dealing with their situation because it's all they know. And sometimes you can convince yourself that this is as good as it's going to get. So you stay and you explain away the pain, you explain away the hurt, you mute yourself and you deny yourself of having better. And it's even sadder for those people who don't know that they can have better. And I think I want to talk more about that on this channel because there's a lot of people. I'm empathetic to those people who don't know they can ask for more or demand more. Like, you know how people say all men cheat? My man doesn't cheat. Mm-mm. He doesn't. Like, that's our deal breakers. We rather do both Pisces, rather just leave. Rather just leave than cheat. I'd rather you just leave than cheat because that means divorce, right? That does. Not saying that you have to be a Pisces, but or have to get with a Pisces, because they could be very, very flirtatious. Okay, but it exists. Like you can have what you want. You can find a man that's not married and be with him. You can find one that is empathetic or a woman or whoever, you desire to be with. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in and joining my first reaction live screen live stream video. I'm going to try to push myself. I'm new to this, right? And I'm a perfectionist. Okay? So no, it's still not perfect. It still did not go perfect today. You guys knew the struggle just to do this today. But I'm proud of myself for doing it. And we're going to take this one step at a time. Okay? So thank you again. And I'm going to see y'all. I will see you tomorrow.